So in this video, I'm going to share you 3 things you can do to not overpay for your properties. So it's critically important to get the right deals through if you want to build any sort of portfolio, substantial size income from property. And if you don't do that, the ability to do your buy, refurbish, remortgage, I won't go into that in this video, but maybe check this one out for that. The ability to do that is going to be massive on growing your portfolio. So paying the right prices for the deal is a very important skill that you need to learn to do. So, I'm Harvey, I'm a remote property investor. Before we get into that, don't forget to subscribe to the page if you're new here. Don't forget to hit that bell icon to notify you when we're releasing these videos. Hit that thumbs up and comment below, really helps the algorithm gods. And if you're not new to the channel, thanks for coming back. My mission in life and my why is to live on my own terms, and my mission is to make as many of you live on your own terms via property as I possibly can. So the more we share this out, the more people are going to have the ability to live on their terms. So the 3 things you need, I'll give you here, and we'll go into detail on each one of them in a minute. But number 1 is know your numbers. Number 2 is know your numbers. And number 3 is control your emotions. So number 1, know your numbers. So what you want to do is really know the comparable numbers of the comparable prices in the street. So what is a comparable? Make sure you get a really good comparable property, which is like for like. What I used to do when I first started investing was it a 3-bedroom, was it a semi, was it within a quarter mile? That would be it. But it's got to be like for like. It's got to have the same sort of square footage. It's got to have a drive. It's got to be done to the same sort of standard. And this is not just for the purchasing price and the resale value, the end value. This is also on your rental value. So know your numbers really, really well on how much would you achieve rent-wise on this. So really have strong comparables, know how to identify them and make sure they are like for like, both in your rentals and in the resale valuation. Number 2 is know your numbers again. So the refurbishment costs, really get to know your numbers. What you want to do is track all your refurbishment costs. So every time you do a refurb, always write down what's costing you, what builder's costing you. Some of these softwares online or these online portals will give you the average prices you should be expecting to pay for this on this portal. So if you put in a certain style job, it will give you an estimate of what you should pay for that. So you could go in there, go and network, ask people prices if you've never done this before, and quote these. But the better you get at knowing your numbers and getting, you don't have to be bang on when you're bidding, but you want to know thereabouts what a property is going to cost you to refurb. Knowing that is going to give you confidence on knowing what sort of money you can bid on a property. And with both of them first 2 examples, what you do is you work backwards. So for example, if you bought a property for £60,000 and you knew the refurbishment and the legal costs and all the costs associated with that was £15,000, and you knew the end comparable price was £100,000 and the end comparable price of the rent was £600, you can then work backwards off of what you know you'd want to pay for that. Kind of done that round the wrong way, because I said £60,000 you purchased it for, but you'd know if it's £100,000 and you was going to spend the £15,000 and the purchase price was 60, that'd give you a 25% like the below market value in between markup or false depreciation upwards, which is the kind of golden chalice that everybody's looking for. But by the way, not everybody gets. I work with a minimum of ideally 15%, but obviously the 25%, the reason people want this is because that enables you to refinance all your funds out. And number 3, this is so important but underutilized, is know your emotions, know yourself, and control your emotions. So we are emotional beings. We buy emotionally, we sell emotionally, we do everything emotionally, and these emotions are triggered below our subconscious thinking. So what happens is, over evolution, our brains evolved into a thing that basically does things without using too much brain power. Because if you rewind 200, 300 years ago, food was scarce, shelter was scarce, there was lots of threats in the world like saber-toothed tigers jumping out on you or other tribes trying to take your territory. So we had a fight and flight reaction in our brain, which evolved into releasing emotions to respond to circumstances. So we are creatures of habits, and this is still hardwired into us. So we release an emotional response and react off that emotional response. This is why sometimes you call somebody a name and the next day you kind of think, oh, I probably shouldn't have called them that. But in the emotional period, like in that emotional reaction, you just do that. Similar to things we buy emotionally. Often we do things emotionally and justify it logically. We'll buy something like a car or a new watch or a new bag if you're a lady, or a new pair of shoes, and then afterwards you try and justify it to yourself afterwards because you don't want to admit to yourself that you've made the wrong decision, and our ego's massively getting in the way. So what we need to do is learn to manage our emotions and not become motivated buyers. And it's difficult, especially at auctions. You've got to know what your maximum bid is with auctions, with direct to vendor stuff, and with agent stuff. Know what it is and manage your emotions. So do your numbers and base it off of numbers, not off emotions and gut feelings. And a way, a quick little hack how you can manage your emotion is by managing your breath. If you manage your breath, you've got a little window of your emotions bubbling up, and you can hack that. It's called the 5-second theory. So if you say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and hack that thought process, you can then stop and reevaluate if you're just doing something emotionally or if you want to be doing that in a logical thinking. Unfortunately, our emotionally thinking brain is much more powerful than our logical thinking brain, and our ego is much more powerful than our logical thinking brain. That's why we justify it after we've done that thought or that decision. So they're the 3 things you can do to not overpay for property. Don't forget to give this page a thumbs up, comment in the comments below what you do to make sure you don't overpay that. Ask any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon if you haven't already. If you have, thank you very much for following us. And remember, if you don't evolve your ideas, you're never going to live on your own terms. So evolve your ideas, live on your own terms. Have a fantastic day.